Have you ever had someone get really angry with you when you questioned or disagreed with them? Have you ever seen a politician trying to avoid answering a tough question? Then you've come across scrutiny suppression. It's what a lot of people do when they don't want others to know the truth. And it can be really harmful. Let's explore scrutiny suppression to find out what it is, how to spot it, and why it's so harmful. This is the first of 3 parts, so make sure to watch out for the next 2 installments. In our last video in this series, we learned that you can spot motivated reasoning by looking for signs that a person wants to believe something or get you to believe something, whether or not that thing really is true. Go and check that out if you haven't seen it already. In that video, we learned that the biggest clue that people are engaging in motivated reasoning is when they actively try to avoid or prevent rigorous scrutiny of their claims. And actively trying to avoid or prevent rigorous scrutiny of something is what scrutiny suppression is all about. If someone wants you to believe something even if it isn't true, it makes sense that the person would want to stop you or anyone else asking too many questions or doing anything else to find out the truth. Trying to get people to believe things even if they're not true is hostile behavior. That's because if people act on things that aren't true, they might cause real harm to themselves or others. So people engaging in scrutiny suppression are a big threat, and it's important to be able to identify them effectively and take action to stop them from getting away with it. Scrutiny suppression has lots of forms. We'll explore some of those in just a moment, but there's one simple way of spotting any kind of scrutiny suppression. Just think, when someone tries to scrutinize a claim, is the person making the claim really trying to show how the claim is true, or is the person trying to get away with not showing how the claim is true? If it's the latter, then it's probably scrutiny suppression. Now, let's look at some of the things that people do to suppress scrutiny. The most basic form of scrutiny suppression is just evading questions. And remember, not every response to a question is an answer. A question is a request for a specific piece of information. Only actually providing the requested information is an answer. Any other response is not an answer. So if you were to ask, "Did you steal any apples?" and John here were to reply, "I don't even like apples," John wouldn't be answering your question. He wouldn't have told you whether he stole any apples. Politicians in particular often respond to a question with something that's pretending to be an answer but isn't. Often the response is intended to distract people from what the question was about in the first place. But if you always keep in mind what information that the question was asking for, you can see whether the answer has given that information or not. But remember, if someone genuinely doesn't know the answer, saying so is not scrutiny suppression. Another form of scrutiny suppression is getting angry or abusive. If you were to ask John, "Did you steal any apples?" and John were to respond by saying something like, "Shut up, you apple-obsessed maniac," that would be scrutiny suppression. The aim would be to try to coerce you into not questioning him. Being abused or insulted feels bad, and most people want to avoid that. That's what scrutiny suppressors are relying on. This form of scrutiny suppression is probably the main reason that political debates often get heated. Another form of scrutiny suppression is responding to an argument or a question with what's called a thought-terminating cliché. This is a short phrase intended to manipulate people into not thinking about the issue. For example, if you were to ask John whether he had stolen any apples and he replied, "Here we go again," that would be a thought-terminating cliché. John would be implying that you shouldn't be asking about apples at all because the topic is boring or you've talked about it before. Or if you were to ask John about stealing apples when he was with a group of his friends and he replied, read the room. That would be a thought-terminating cliché. John would be implying that you shouldn't ask questions that people nearby don't want asked, even if there's a good reason to ask them. Yet another form of scrutiny suppression is when someone repeatedly interrupts you. The aim here is usually to stop you from being able to speak at all. The most extreme form of scrutiny suppression, though, is trying to do some real harm to you if you question or challenge the claim, such as getting you fired, ostracizing you, or getting lots of people to abuse you on the internet. This is often called being canceled, but it's nothing new. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates was put to death because powerful people thought that he asked too many difficult questions. One thing that's not scrutiny suppression, though, is arguing back and defending the original claim with reasons. This isn't scrutiny suppression because the argument can always be scrutinized. So you can't say that somebody's engaging in scrutiny suppression just because he or she is making a bad argument. The fact that you can point out that the argument is bad means that you have just succeeded in scrutinizing it. If you want to find out more about how to scrutinize arguments, check out our series of short videos on critical thinking. The link's on the screen now. Have you come across any examples of scrutiny suppression lately? Or maybe there are types of scrutiny suppression that we haven't covered. If so, let us know in the comments, share to let other people know about how to spot this behavior, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one, including our next 2 videos about scrutiny suppression.